I am so excited, man. We are starting a brand new series. How many liked Fruitful? How many thought Fruitful was good? Some of you maybe got a little closer to God. A big word that I felt like God placed in my heart for our church and what God has for us this year is to grow. Grow. And I don't mean just numerically. I mean in our lives, in our personal lives, where we are growing in our relationship with God, where we're growing in community with one another, when we're growing in numbers as a church, because the bigger we get, the reality is the more impact we can have. I don't want to be just big for my ego. I want to be big because the more people we get, the bigger influence we can have in this community. You agree with me? Are you with me? All right, so that's why we want to be big. But today, we're starting a brand new series. Say it with me on the count of three. 1, 2, 3, famous last words. Come on, we're excited about this, super pumped about this. And if you are a guest or if you haven't been here for a while, then you picked a great week to come back or to be here for the first time, because this is the first week of a 7-week series. This will actually take us into Easter Sunday, which for anybody that don't know, that's Super Bowl Sunday for church. Just so you know, that's what Easter Sunday is. So you're going to invite people. We're going to pack this place out in the name of Jesus. Amen. We're going to get this place full. We're going to scoot the stage back. We're not going to know what to do. We're going to run out of seats, and that's how cool it's going to be. Are you with me? If you all bring just one, who's got one friend? Who's got one friend? All of you need to get nice. Who's got one friend? Seriously, raise your hand if you got one friend. Okay. The easiest Sunday you can get them to come to church is Easter Sunday. I think it was like 80-something% of people, if you just ask them on Easter Sunday, will come. Just ask them. See what happens. Here we go. Famous last words. There's 7 statements that Jesus made on the cross before he would die, go into the tomb, and then raise 3 days later. There were 7 statements that he gave us. Right before they were breaking bread and having the Last Supper, or right after they were breaking bread for the Last Supper. Right after he was praying, Jesus was praying all night long while the disciples were sleeping. Right after Judas would betray him and turn him over to the soldiers. Right after the soldiers would take him at night to an illegal trial, shouldn't even have been happening. And then right after that, he goes and he faces what they call death minus 1. And it's where he took stripes, he bore stripes, he got whipped with a cat of 9 tails. I mean, it's just, basically it had glass and sharp bones and stuff like that that would just rip your whole flesh off. And then they would do a death minus 1 because they said if you had all 40 of those lashes, you would die. So they said, in other words, he won't get 40, he'll get 39. Most people didn't even make it to the cross. They would die before they even got there. Now, I know throughout history, we have seen people die in horrible ways. And I don't make light of that. But I don't think there was ever a time in our history where it was more publicly accepted, more of a time where you would humiliate someone and brutally kill them than this time right here where Jesus is facing the cross. Horrible ways people have died. But I don't think there is any way of dying that was more publicly accepted than this time right here. And I don't find it a coincidence that Jesus, our Lord and our Savior, showed up in one of the most brutal time of our history. In other words, I think there is a reason why Jesus showed up in the worst. He took the worst so he could take your worst. He took the worst when he went up on the cross so he could take our worst. And there were 7 statements that he said on that cross that helped him get through those moments on the cross. And I believe that those 7 statements can actually impact our lives in a big way. And if we apply these 7 statements that he said to our lives, his worst day can quickly become our best day. if you allow it to. Those last 7 statements can have a huge impact on your life. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how young you are. This applies to us all. Last words are pretty important. I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity. I don't even know if opportunity is the right word. As a pastor, I've been in the hospital quite a few times where people were taking their last breath. And I'll tell you, again, I don't know if this is the right words, but that's probably one of the most real things I've ever experienced. Because you literally are watching someone go from this life to what's next. It's a very real moment. So I have to think that someone's last words are important. If I had one last thing to say before I died, I would want it to have some weight. I would want it to have some impact. So before we get real serious and we go into what Jesus had to say, I figure we lighten the mood because it's going to be a little heavy in here this morning. I figure we lighten the mood and we'll talk about some other famous people and their last words. Y'all good for that? Y'all ready for that? There ain't one of them Christian. They're all secular people. Here's the first one. Go ahead and put him up on. Who knows who that guy is? Bob Marley. Bob Marley. Listen to Bob Marley's famous last words. Money can't buy life. That's a true statement. I don't even know if Bob Marley was saved. Probably not. I don't know. But Bob Marley had it figured out really quickly that I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how good looking you are. I don't care how smart you are. When it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And money can't help you when it's your time to go. What about this next person here? Y'all, this is for all of our seasoned saints in here. Y'all know who that is? I believe you pronounce his name Groucho Marx. Am I saying that correctly? You ain't gonna admit it even in here. You'd be like, nope, I'm not dating myself. Groucho Marx, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his last name, or first name. This is what he says, die, why that's the last thing I would do. I thought that one was pretty funny. He's a comedian. What about this next one? I believe, unless I'm wrong, it may have been a picture he painted. I believe this is Leonardo da Vinci. Nobody's questioning me in here, college students. Okay, I'm good. Yes. The Google didn't fail me. Leonardo da Vinci, listen to this. I mean, here is a man who, I'm not the most artistic guy, but here is a man who accomplished so much, so many paintings. His naked statues are all over the world. How did that happen? Can I take a second? How did that happen? Like, was that like, hey, Bill, I got a plan. What's that, Leo? I'm going to make a naked dude. Really? Yeah, it's actually going to be one of the biggest things I do. It's going to go around the world. Moving on. Listen to what he says. This is crazy to me. I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have. Wow. Wow, that's sad. Leo, good old Leo. Jack Daniels. Don't make too much noise in here about that one. He says, one last drink, please. He would say that. Mary Antoinette. Is that how you say it? Antoinette. You're supposed to whisper it next time. It's Mary. Marie Antoinette. The Google failed me. Listen, this is when she's getting ready to go get a haircut. She's going to the gauntlet. Like she's getting ready to have her head chopped off. She walks by the executioner and listen to what she says. I am so sorry. I did not mean to do that. And she stepped on his toe. That's why she actually stepped on his toe as she was walking past the executioner, and she had the willingness to say, hey, I'm sorry, you're going to chop my head off, but I'm sorry for stepping on your toe. So those are those, after I embarrassed myself, but those are all of the ones that I looked up of famous people. But there's something special about last words. And I think if those people, if we take time to look at those, man, we should really take the time and really care about what the last words of our Savior were and when he was hanging on that cross. The first one is this. It says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's the first one. That's the one we're gonna talk about today. The next one is, this day you will be with me in paradise. That's when the sinners are hanging on both sides of Jesus, and the one cries out to him, and Jesus says, hey, listen, today you'll be with me in paradise. We're going to talk about how Jesus died for sinners next week. You don't want to miss that, and you definitely want to bring a friend. And then number 3 is, woman, behold your son. Now, I don't even know what we're going to do there, so I gave that one to my wife. She can figure that out. Number 4, my God, why have you forsaken me? Y'all better be here on that week, because this is one of my favorite things I want to teach about. In other words, my God, why have you forsaken me? That word forsaken is, why have you turned your face from me? But Jesus is crying out, why have you turned your face? Because God hates sin. He can't look at sin. So when Jesus was dying on our place and he was putting himself up there, he became our sin. So for a moment, God had to turn his face from his son. But that is the last time that God would turn his face from any of us who put our trust in him. Yes. And you don't want to miss that. Number 5 is, I thirst. I'm going to talk about the only thing that can quench our thirst on the inside, spiritually speaking, is a relationship with Jesus. Number 6, it is finished. We're going to talk about the fact that Christ looked up to heaven and said, this is over, it's done, it's finished. I've completed the work. And then 7, into your hands I commit my spirit. We're going to talk about the idea of surrendering our lives over to God. That sound good? Don't want to miss any of those. So we're going to look at the first statement that he made on the cross after he had just went through some of the most horrible, brutal ways of killing someone. He's just been beaten. He's been made a public spectacle. I mean, completely ripped down of all of his clothes. I know maybe the movies you've seen, he's got like a white thing around him. No, that's not the case. He would have been completely nude. Just humiliation. The brutal beating that he would have taken. It's also talked about the fact that he was actually standing there and someone would have been holding his arms, and that soldiers would have come by and each one would have had an opportunity just to punch him in his face. He goes through all of that. He goes through carrying the cross down through the city. He's got the 40-1 slashes, death -1 that he had to go through. Carries his cross down there. Gets nails put in his hands and to his feet. He's hung up on the cross. A man who's committed no wrong, never sinned, never hurt anybody, never done any wrong to anybody. A perfect man went through all of that for us. And listen to the words that he says. Listen to what he says. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What? Are you kidding me? Like, you're going through all of that stuff, and now you're saying, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? The title of my message this morning is, how could you say that? How could Jesus be up on that cross, going through all of that stuff in his life, and cry out to the Father, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do? But then I thought about the idea that there was a lot of religious people in that day. And they actually, whether you know it or not, thought they were doing God a favor by getting rid of Jesus. They thought Jesus was a blasphemer. They honestly thought they were doing God a good deed getting rid of Jesus. They didn't know the crime, in other words, that a lot of them were committing. So that's why the Father can look up and say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. But then I started thinking about my life, because I was born in the church. And you say, John, that's amazing. It depends on what church you were born into. But I was born in the church. I had a great church that I grew up in. Miss Kathy is here today. This is like my second mama. Like, she raised me. She was one of our what we called back then super church. It was our kids' church. And she would be back there, and she would be teaching us about all the Bible characters, all the heroes that we read about in our day and time, and the impact that they had on our world, and how God used them, and how God helped them overcome different things, and how that could happen in my life if I just stay the course and live the way that God wants me to live. And then I was taught not to lie. I was taught not to cheat. I was taught not to hurt anyone. I was taught the idea that I need to treat people the way that I wanted to be treated. I was taught to stay pure until I got married, because that's God's design for marriage. But oftentimes I did the exact opposite. How many can get real with me in this place? Because I thought about us church folks who know how to walk the walk. We know how to talk the talk. We can come into church and we can put these smiles on our faces, and everybody thinks things are great. We got the right verbiage even, man, when we're talking to people. But not that we're not saved, not that we're not on our way to heaven, but we never fully surrender and live for God the way that He would want us to live. Come on, how many have ever not done something that, you don't have to raise your hand, but that God has asked you to do? You just didn't do it. Maybe God asked you to give something and you just didn't give it. Maybe God asked you to show mercy in a situation and you decided not to do that and lash out with words and hurt people. I would think that if Jesus was on the cross today, it wouldn't be Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. It'd be Father, forgive them, even though they know exactly what they're doing. Let me ask you a question this morning. How well are you giving the forgiveness that we've all so freely received? How well are you showing grace to people in your life that you've received in such a generous way? Or is anybody like me in this place that sometimes wants some justice? You've been hurt and you want some justice? I mean, I started thinking about little things in my life that I want justice for. I'll get real, whether anybody else does or not. I hate traffic. I hate it. We were just talking about this last night. I thought about this last night. I hate traffic. I hate being in traffic jams. Like, if I pass you and I got a mean look on my face, don't not come to church. I promise. I'm working on this. Someone passes me and gets in front of me or doesn't let me get around them, I'm like, Jesus, just justice. Like, just let their tire fall. No, I'm totally kidding. I want to let them run out of gas. We want justice when we're being wronged. But when I'm the one in wrong, I want mercy. I don't want justice no more. I want mercy. So how well are we distributing mercy that we're so freely receiving? The first statement that Jesus makes on the cross is, Father, forgive them. I don't know what they do. Or, Father, forgive them, even though they know exactly what they're doing. Because the fact of the matter is although these people didn't know at that time, Jesus had you on his mind when he was hanging on that cross. You say, John, me? You. The fact that the Bible says that Jesus died for the whole world has you included. So, in other words, while we were doing the dumbest thing that we've ever done, or the dumbest thing that we ever will do, Christ died for that. He knew when we were on that cross that we would do things even though we knew we shouldn't, but yet he died for us anyway. I know some of you are sitting here thinking, John, I know where you're going with this, and if this is a message about me forgiving someone who didn't know they were hurting me, I can probably do that. I can probably handle that one. But if you're asking me to forgive someone who knew flat out that they were hurting me, I don't know that I can do that. Matter of fact, John, I don't even know how to begin to do that. Well, hopefully after today, God moves in all of our hearts, and we all walk out of here challenged with the idea that even though we've been hurt, even though the pain is real, even though that someone did it on purpose, we still have the option to forgive them. And we're going to talk about what forgiveness is and what forgiveness isn't this morning. Does that sound good? Yeah. Let's go to the Lord in prayer first, and then we will go into the 2 points that I have. Dear Father, we love you, God. We thank you for your presence in this place. Father, God, we just thank you for your Son. We're going to get our hearts focused on him this morning. We're going to say, Father, thank you for the fact that he did die for me. He did die for every single person in this place. God, we say thank you for the price that he paid. Father, let us learn today a little bit more. Let us walk out of here a little bit more challenged with the idea that we want to give the same grace that all of us have so freely been given. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for your son. It's in your awesome name we pray. We all say a big amen. Is this okay? Y'all good? You with me? Okay. My mother-in-law is with me, whether any of you are, and she's always got my back. Here we go. Here's number one. Ready? Write it down. If you're taking notes, put it in your phone, put it on a pad of paper. You got to remind yourself of what Christ has done for you. You got to remind yourself of what Christ has done for you. I actually taught something very similar to this last year when we were doing our relationship series, and I actually titled it "Let It Go." Okay. But I'm gonna highlight some of that stuff that I talked about. I'm gonna read one of my favorite parables that we can totally see the idea of how God wants us to handle people that hurt us. Matthew 18:21-35. It'll be up on the screen. This is what it says. Then Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times. And Peter thought he was doing something really special there, because actually it was Jewish custom back then that you would forgive someone 3 times in a day. Once they did it past that, like I guess you could just rip their head off. I don't know. But after 3 times, you didn't have to forgive them. So he thought he was doing something really special. And he said 7 times. And Jesus says, not 7 times, Jesus replied, but 70 times 7. It's not a number that Jesus is actually referring to. The only number you need to recognize is 7, because 7 in God's word actually means completion. So how many times should you forgive someone? Completely. Completely. Verse 23 says, therefore the kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who decided to bring his accounts up to date with servants who had borrowed money from him. This is a bit of a lengthy passage, but we can do that in church. In the process, one of his debtors was brought in who owed him millions of dollars he couldn't pay, so his master ordered that he be sold, along with his wife, his children, and everything he owned to pay the debt. But the man fell down before his master and begged him, please be patient with me, and I will pay it all. Then his master was filled with pity for him, and he released him and forgave him his debt. But when the man left the king, he went to a fellow servant who owed him a few $1,000s, a fragment of what he owed. He grabbed him by his throat and demanded instant payment. His fellow servant fell down before him and begged for a little more time. Be patient with me and I will pay it, he pleaded. But his creditor wouldn't wait. He had the man arrested and put in prison until the debt could be paid in full. What a quick change. When some of the other servants saw this, they were very upset. They went to the king and told him everything that had happened. The king called the man he had forgiven and said, you evil servant, I forgave you that tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant just as I had mercy on you? Then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tortured until he had paid the entire debt. This is 35. This is a bit of a scary verse. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart. Okay, let me break this down. I'm gonna give you the John version, all right? Here's what this is being said. There was a guy that came in, owed a lot of money. He's going to the guy that he owes a lot of money to. This dude's doing his books. He's finding out who owes him something. He's finding out who's got a debt in his life. Comes across this servant. He says, hey, you owe me this. You can't pay it. I'm going to sell you. I'm going to sell your kids. I'm going to sell everything you have to pay that debt. It says that this guy fell down on his knees, begging and crying. Just give me time. Just give me time and I'll pay the whole debt back. Just give me time. Don't sell me. Don't sell my kids. Don't sell my wife. Just give me time and I'll pay it back. And the Bible says that the guy didn't just give him what he was asking for, which was just time to pay. He actually said that he released him of the entire debt. Just wrote the whole thing off right then and there. Guys, that is what Jesus is teaching that God does for us. Yeah. You owed him a debt that you could not pay. You owed him something that you were never going to, no matter how good you were, no matter what you've done, you can't earn what God wanted to give you. It's a free gift that God has given to each and every single one of us. How many are thankful for God's mercy in this place? God, go ahead and give God a praise if you're thankful for his mercy. I'm thankful for his mercy. I'm not just talking about the things that your family knows about or your friends know about, but I'm talking about every little secret thing that you still don't want to talk about. And the fact of the matter is that Jesus looked beyond your past and saw your need and wiped your slate clean. And then it says this man walks right out of there. This man that has just been forgiven, this huge amount of debt, walks right out of there, finds someone that owes him a fragment of what he owed the other person. The Bible says that he took him by the throat and started choking him and said, "Pay me what you owe me." And because of that, his debtor came back to him and said, "Hey man, not sure why I just released you of all that, and then you walk right out and do the same thing." We can't demand the grace from God for our own lives and not give it to the ones that need it the most in our lives. We got to acknowledge how good our Heavenly Father has been to each and every single one of us. Can I get a big amen in this place? We've all been forgiven of so much. And I want to get really good, not just at receiving God's grace, but I want to get really good at giving God's grace to the people in my life who need it the most. Here's number 2. So the first one is you got to realize what God's done for you and how much you've been forgiven. The second thing is the place where the nails were is the place where the healing is. The place where the nails were is the place where the healing is. Jesus appeared to his disciples after he had risen from the grave. He showed up to what we kind of know him as Doubting Thomas. Doubting Thomas. He gets a bad rap. But Thomas reached out and Thomas was saying, "Hey, if I can't touch the scars, if I can't see where the nails were, I'm not sure I'm going to believe this. I'm going to have a hard time believing this." So Jesus actually shows up to Thomas and says, "Thomas, put your finger on the scars where the nails were." It said where the nails were. It's not that it didn't happen. Jesus never denied the cross. He didn't say, "Oh, yeah, no big deal. It wasn't painful. Nobody hurt me." You don't hear any of that. He says, "Hey, look where the scars are." A wound is different than a scar. Some of us are walking around with open wounds because we're not letting the healer heal us. And the last time I checked, when I've had a big wound, I still got a scar. I still got something that shows that something happened. I went through some pain. I went through some hurt. But Jesus is saying that where the nails were is where the healing actually is, if we'll give it over to him. What happened, happened. They ruined the relationship. It happened. They abused me in ways that I still am not even comfortable telling my spouse about. It happened. I struggle today with how my dad had such high expectations in my life. It happened. Forgiveness is not that I just forget about what happened. Forgiveness is not that the pain wasn't there. Forgiveness is not that it didn't happen in my life. That's not what forgiveness is. Away with the preaching that says that when you forgive someone that the pain will go away. That's not the reality. The pain is sometimes still there. The scar is definitely still going to be there. But I'm not going to allow myself. How long are we going to stay wounded? How long are we going to stay stuck in a place where someone's hurt us when we have the healer who is right there ready? That where the nails were, where someone tried to drive the pain into our lives, that is the exact place where the healing is. The nails had to be put into our Savior's hands. They had to be put there. That's where the power would flow from. So what I'm trying to say is that where the nails were is where God wants to literally bring power into your life with. The hurt that you've been up against, it happened. happened. The betrayal that you've been up against, it happened. But stop staying wounded on that cross when the healer is ready to let power flow through what happened to you. I want to see who's honest in here. How many in this place have been wounded? Just about, I think every single one of us have went through some wounds. Let me tell you what forgiveness is not. Forgiveness is not that it never happened. It's not that it never happened. Forgiveness is not saying that I'm going to forgive you and then now I'm going to trust you more. No, listen, when we forgive someone, that don't mean that we got to jump right back into a relationship. Matter of fact, there's times where we got to set some healthy boundaries to say, hey, listen, I'm not going to let you hurt me like that again. Oh, I forgive you. I'm moving on with my life, but I'm not going to put myself back in an unsafe environment. Forgiveness is not going back and giving someone your complete trust, but forgiveness is, listen, I heard this said this way, that forgiveness is setting someone free from prison and realizing that it was you that you set free. How much longer are you going to hold the wound? How much longer are you going to walk around with open wounds when you have a Savior who wants to heal right where those wounds have started?